What's up, guys? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision. Today we are reviewing the V3X 29 from Mathews. So we did the 33, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago. Had a lot of requests on the 29. So if you saw the 33 review, part of this might be a little redundant because, you know, all the same technologies in terms of the new features are in the same, or are on both bows. But this bow is definitely going to shoot a little bit faster. And then also some differences in draw cycle and stuff. So definitely worth the watch if you're kind of back and forth between the two. You know, before we get into that, do want to say hop over to InsideOutPrecision.com. There we have a bunch of new products, but you have to go, like if you go under shop and then apparel, there's a new section. For whatever reason, our website isn't posting them with the rest of the stuff. So you have to go to the new section, but there's a few new shirts, candles, I don't know, a bunch of different stuff on there. So head on over to InsideOutPrecision.com and help support the channel if you would like. So we're gonna get into the physical specs of this thing first. So the V3X 29 is, shocker, 29 inches long. It has a 6-inch brace height. It IBOs at 340. Now that's, I think 2 or 3 feet a second slower than what most of their 6-inch brace height bows have been in the last few years. But definitely still, you know, most flagship bows these days are in that 335 to 345 range. So it's kind of right in the middle there. Comes in at 4.47 pounds, so basically 4.5 pounds, which is nice to see. Every year these bows are getting a little bit lighter. You know, in the past, one complaint that people have always had about Mathews is that they are heavier. But now they're pretty much right on par with, you know, almost any other aluminum bow on the market, if not even a little bit lighter than some, like the Ventums last year. So goes from 25.5 all the way out to 30 inches. So if you're past 30, you know, you're going to be wanting to look at the 33, but it will go out to 30-inch draw length. And then with the switch weight cams and mods, you know, I can make it a 60, 65, 70, or 75-pound peak weight. Really nice system. I mean, you can, you know, if you're a newer shooter, and let's say you can only pull, you know, 30, 35 pounds, you can put the 60 weight mods on this and back it off 5 turns and be at like 35 pounds. So you can really drop this bow down really, really low. It's got, you know, the same limb angle, little bit different riser design than last year. They did even a little more bridging and cut out here to help alleviate that weight above the grip there. You know, if you haven't seen my Mathews videos before, what this very parallel limb angle does is it allows them to extend the riser while maintaining a short axle to axle, and a longer riser is really what gives you that stability, that stable feel. So even though this bow is only 29 axle to axle, the riser length on this is more of a bow that's like 34 in other brands. So really stable bow. You're still gonna have a little bit of a steep string angle with that 29-inch axle to axle, especially if you're over, you know, 28.5 inches or so. But again, that's all a personal feel. There's none of that is set in stone. A lot of that comes down to, you know, your anchor point and just the shape of your face, all that stuff. So it has, if you missed my other video, you know, this has all the new technologies on it. So right now this bow, it doesn't have the integrated rest on it, but I do have the Low Pro quiver right here. You can see how tight that holds everything to the bow, as well as the bridge lock sight from Excel. So this sight has a short little dovetail. It actually mounts through the center of the riser as opposed to mounting to the outside. And then if you run their integrated rest in conjunction with these things, it's a very, very inline system, meaning, you know, when I fill this quiver up with arrows, it's not going to want to tip the bow over to that side nearly as much. Right now we have the Hamskea on here. This is just the Hybrid Hunter. Now, if you are running basically any rest other than the integrated at this moment, this quiver will not work because it holds the arrows so close that they will actually hit your rest right here. Now, I believe in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, Hamskea is dropping a new rest. And I know I mentioned this in the other video. Originally, we thought it was going to be that you would have the option of the rest or a bracket to turn your existing rest into an integrated one, but it sounds like that's not the case. It sounds like you actually have to buy the whole new rest, but it will actually sit in line with the riser just like the QAD, but it will still be limb driven versus cable driven, which, if you know me, I'm a huge proponent of limb driven over cable driven. I think they're more reliable, they tune better, they're more accurate. You know, they support the arrow 5 or 6 times longer than a cable driven. And that's the whole point of an arrow rest, is to support the arrow. That's why most target setups run that tiny little blade rest, because it's full support with minimal contact. So Hamskea should be coming out with that pretty soon. And then in my mind, that's like the ultimate rest. So keep an eye out for that. As soon as they come out, I'll be doing a review on it. But it's a really cool system, and you're seeing a lot of people go to this year. Hoyt's doing the same thing. In fact, Hoyt's quiver and Mathews' quiver look shockingly similar. It's almost like they had the same engineers working on it. But yeah, it's a really cool system. I like what they've done. So when it comes to, you know, little features, so obviously you got your front bar mount here. They have the lower rear bar mount in the back of the riser here, which is really nice. It allows you to run, you know, a shorter bar and still get that weight far enough back to where it does what you want it to. Whereas if you have to mount it to the front of the bow, you know, you have to run a longer bar to, you know, another 2.5 inch bar to get that weight in the right spot. So lots of stabilizer options there. One thing I will recommend, on your little dampener here, if you get a little zip tie and just go through the little rubber piece and zip tie it to the riser here, it will not fall out. I don't know how many people I've seen come back in after hunting and they're missing their whole, it's not just the metal piece of the dampener, it's the whole rubber piece. So a small little zip tie around that will keep that from happening. These actually seem tighter than they were last year, which is good. So they probably had some complaints about that and fixed it. But you know, we've been selling a lot of these bows. We've actually been selling more 33s than 29s. I think, you know, out west here, you know, we're in Oregon. I think most of the western states, you know, shots are on average probably 15 to 20 yards further than a lot of the shots guys are taking in, you know, in back east, basically out of tree stands. So that little extra stability, a little more forgiveness with that longer axle to axle, I think is really appealing to people. But in general, I've never known anybody who regretted going with a longer bow. I know a lot of people who come back in that bought a short bow and went, oh man, I wish I would have gone longer. So right now we're probably selling like 3 or 4 to 1 33, you know, versus 29s. But that's not to knock the 29 at all. This is a great bow. I did notice, so shooting it, it's extremely dead in the hand, like all Mathews. It does have a little bit of a hump. I don't think as much as the V3 last year, but that just has to do with, you know, basically the angle that you're pulling this string back. You kind of have to pull this cam right over the top of itself as opposed to kind of rolling it down. So generally, shorter axle to axle bows tend to draw stiffer. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. It's not a lot by any means, but more than the 33. The 33, everybody we hand it to, they shoot it and they go, oh no, I wanted to shoot this at 70 pounds. And it's like, that's 70 pounds. It just feels like it's, you know, 62. You can get it in 80 or 85% let off. I like the 80%. I think that just comes from my target background. I don't know. I like a lower let off. I like that holding weight. Now, if I was going to run it at 75 pounds, I would probably shoot the 85 because, you know, I like my holding weight somewhere in that like 15.5 to 16 pounds. So at 75 pounds, if you do the math, the 85% comes in, not exact, but around that. But if you're shooting it at 65 or, you know, 67 or whatever, I would probably shoot the 80s personally. It does kind of dump into that back wall a little bit. I think, you know, it's really smooth up until that point, and then once you hit that precipice, it just boom into the valley. It's definitely got a big valley. You know, some people I've heard come in and say, oh, it's, you know, it's so jumpy. Like my V3 is so jumpy, and they must really be relaxing at full draw, because I think they got one of the bigger valleys. I mean, you practically got to push that thing forward. So we're gonna do the speed test here. Got the chronograph all charged up. My camera is working. Everything is good. So we got a 511 grain arrow, 480 grain arrow, 445 grain arrow, 410 grain arrow, and then a 360 grain arrow. So kind of the whole array there. So we're gonna do it at 70 pounds, 30 inches. It's coming in at right at 70.2 pounds right now. I just checked it before I started filming. And then we'll knock it down to 28 inches and shoot those exact same arrows. So I'm gonna move the camera, get that chrono set up, and we'll run some arrows through it. Okay, so we're at 30 inches here, 70 pounds. So this is a 511 grain arrow. At 30 inches, you know, you're probably gonna be shooting a 300. And so this is an FMJ. You know, you're gonna be somewhere in that weight. So this is pretty common weight for something like that. Yeah, definitely a little stiffer than 33. And I know I'm right-handed, or I'm left-handed, this is right-handed, so I look stupid. 285, that's good speed. That's really good speed. Okay, this is the 480 grain arrow. See, for me, like I shoot a 30-inch drop, but see how I have to duck to get my head on that string. So that's why I like a longer axle to axle. 288, you know, it's interesting. A lot of the bows this year that I've been testing, there's never a huge jump between the 511 and 480, which shows me they're efficient with, you know, with heavier arrows, which is good. We want that. Okay, so this is 445. $299, so basically 300. This is 410. Oh, hang on. That knock is busted. Sorry, I had to replace that knock. So this is 410. .308. And now the Speed Demon, this is 362. Oh, baby. .325. So definitely really good speed. Pretty much exactly what I was expecting. You know, 285 with a 511 grain arrow is impressive at 30 inches. For shooting a fixed blade broadhead, I like my bow to be in the 280s. When you get too much speed with a fixed blade, things can get kind of squirrely. Obviously, you know, you want as much speed as you can get and still shoot accurately. So I kind of build an arrow weight on any given bow I'm shooting that kind of keeps me in that, like, you know, 280 to 288, somewhere in there. So yeah, good speeds. I'm gonna go put on the 28-inch mods and we'll do that same thing. Okay, got the 28-inch mods. So again, 511 to start. I'm gonna guess it's gonna drop by about 20 feet a second, so probably 260s. Oh, it's much easier to draw. 258. Where is it? This is a 480. .266. Whoa. 445. .281. That would be a really popular, like, common arrow weight for a draw length like this. So right in that sweet spot, 280. 410. Ooh, smashing arrows. 293. And I'm expecting this one to be over 300, so 362. Yep, 305. So, you know, you can do anything with a bow like this. I mean, you can hunt with it, shoot 3D with it. It's got a lot of applications. I would definitely head down to your Mathews dealer and check these out. I know they've been out for a little while, so it's probably nothing you haven't heard about it. But yeah, I've got not a lot of bad things to say. I know I say that about most every bow I review, but we really only sell brands that we believe in. So if we didn't like the way a bow shot when we tested it, we're usually not going to sell it. But they're all good bows. Like I said, one might be more comfortable to you. I'm not here to say that Mathews is any better than PSE than is any better than Hoyt. I have never been brand loyal. I shoot whatever bow is out either that year. I mean, I shot my Traverse for 3 years before I changed to the PSE. So I shoot whatever bow is in the specs that I like and has the features that feel comfortable to me. I look for draw cycle. Mostly, the biggest thing for me is how a bow aims. I've actually got a video coming up on how to fix some aiming issues. But for me, it's all about hold. I don't really honestly care that much about vibration. I mean, as long as it's not super loud, there's no bow that rattles your hand loose after you shoot it. At least none of the major brands. Obviously, a smooth bow is a benefit for sure. But for a hunting bow, I want it quiet, something that draws pretty smooth. And then something that aims really well, because all those things are going to benefit you in the woods. So head on down to your Mathews dealer, check out this V3X 29, and until next time, remember, precision is a decision. Keep them in the middle, and I'll see you on the range.